Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye, bye. Now, here's a question. Are blacks really afraid of Mexicans? Let's get to that intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate all your support, man. I'm very humbled by it, right? So, Snoopy Badass, right? A brother on Paru from Southern California has decided to do an interview, right? That he did a couple weeks back, man. And he said a lot of controversial things. Now, I thought I was controversial. I thought when it comes to controversy, that's all me. I got that sewed up, right? Myself and a few others. But this man went above and beyond the realm of controversy because he made a statement. He said something that I'm going to have to tell you I do not agree with whatsoever. I don't know what planet that guy is raised on, but to each their own. Everyone has their different perspective according to how their life went, right? But I could tell you right now, the statement that he made kind of blew my mind. Let me break it down. I see other people have made videos concerning this topic, and it's my turn to shed a little light, speak my facts, and give you my perspective on the situation. So Snoopy Badass, I've always liked his music, and I understand that he has his own little issues in Southern California with a lot of brothers, man, based upon his situation. There's a lot of people that say he used to be this and now he's that. And look, to each their own. Who am I to speak on the next man's bullshit if I don't know, right? If I know, I know. If I don't, hey, it's cool. It's not affecting my life, right? But I've always liked Snoopy Badass's music. And I see that within the past few years, his gift of gab, his charisma, has took him to the internet to speak on controversial issues, to speak on issues that are going on in Southern California and things of that nature. So this man has decided to stick a fork in it, to put a big statement out there that's going to have a lot of the brothers out there in Southern California and everywhere kind of upset, right? I haven't seen too many brothers speaking on it yet. Maybe they're just taking it as, that dude's a pee on a poop butt, nothing he says counts. Or they're really marinating on the situation and want to know exactly why he said this. But usually when a statement like this is put out, a lot of brothers that are on social media, on the internet, that have platforms, decide to speak up quite rapidly because they feel some type of way, and they are entitled to feel that type of way. You know, when someone speaks on your whole ethnicity as a whole and is trying to be the voice for them and make a statement as bold as this, I don't know about you, brother, but I definitely have something to say, right? Especially when it's concerning the essays, the NAs, the Mexicans, right? This guy, Snoopy Badass, decided to go online on social media during an interview and say that blacks are afraid or scared of Mexicans. On what planet is that fucking thought process thought out? Look, no one group is scared of any other group. Whether it's black and Mexican, Mexican and black, that's the damn truth. I have never in my life seen a brother turn down a fade from a Mexican, nor have I ever seen a Mexican turn down a fade from a brother. Now, this is me speaking, my experience. Okay? When Snoopy Badass put out that statement, I could only believe that that's his experience. Maybe he, in part, is afraid of Mexicans. I'm not saying he is or isn't. But when you say blacks are afraid of Mexicans and you're a brother, then that must mean you got some type of afraidism going on within yourself, right? Is that understandable? Because I'm not scared of blacks. I'm not scared of browns. I'm not scared of whites, Asians. I'm a little scared of Usos, right? But I'm not scared of any grown man, you know. If there's a personal issue, if the motherfucker looks fucking scared, looks like that dude on Felony Fights that used to bite people, straight jacket, I'm not afraid, but I'm concerned, right? But as far as one ethnicity being afraid of another group, I have never seen it personally. And to say a statement like that, that only makes me believe that your experience with the Mexican Snoopy Badass has been unfortunate for you, right? Now, if I was a brother, I'd be feeling some type of way because I'd be like, hold up. First of all, you don't speak for everybody. And second of all, what the fuck you mean blacks are afraid of Mexicans? Where'd your analysis come from? Where did you decide to say this and put some facts and truth behind it? Now, I could tell you about a whole bunch of different experiences I had where individuals, men, were afraid of another man, not because of his skin color, not because of the group he was from, but because they just didn't want that smoke. There was something about that man's bicep that was bigger than their fucking head that made them decide that if they got him in a headlock, something was going to pop, right? Snoopy Badass, that is a crazy statement to make, that blacks are afraid of Mexicans, because what it does is it reignites the debate and causes division between two ethnicities that have already been racially divided for a very long time. Now, of course, you're going to say the brothers are going to say the Mexicans hate the blacks, and the black Mexicans are going to say the blacks hate the Mexicans. And it's going to be a continuous thing. It's a train that just keeps on going. It's the soul train. It's the hippest trip in America, right? It's something that people like to antagonize and embark upon because it causes racial division. And what it does in doing that is it keeps people's minds here when the big focus should be over there. Now, with all this shit going on, with ICE and with immigration and with protests and with all this shit going on in the world right now, especially in the United States, man, under heavy, it looks like guerra, very divided, the country very divided. It's not divided along racial lines. Literally, it's divided amongst people of different parties, people that have different mindsets and different idealisms. That's the truth. I've always said it's the haves and the have-nots, and most black and brown have not, right? So we need to stick together. I'm a big proprietor for black and brown. I always have been since I came out, right? On a social media platform. I've been called a lot of things. A racist. I've been called prejudiced. I've been called, oh, you don't like him because he's a brother, man. But at the end of the day, you can call me what you want. You know what I'm saying? Just call on Tyrone. And that's the truth. The truth is, my ties to black and brown have go back years, decades, right? It's always been that way. I function on the same side of the prison yard with brothers, man. I got a lot of respect all the way from back in the C14 days, CXIV days. I've been functioning with blacks since I was a youth in YA to prison to the streets. And I'm going to continue to have friends that are brothers, man. And guess what? They're not afraid of me. And I'm not afraid of them. They definitely ain't afraid of me, right? Snoopy Badass coming up with the synopsis or this conclusion that blacks are afraid of Mexicans, I think stems from his experience in Southern California, where there has been a lot of issues between blacks and browns in the past. Not necessarily as much as there was back in the 90s when there was green lights and things of that nature that were put out there due to prison politics, and it affected the streets. But maybe his experience was in his area, blacks not conforming, but showing respect and love for Mexicans. And he misconstrued that as some type of fear. When black and brown communities get along, that doesn't mean one group fears the other. That means they could set aside whatever differences they have that are usually make-believe or on a personal level that became more, right? Just like Mexicans versus Mexicans, blacks versus blacks. It doesn't stem from pigmentation of skin. It doesn't stem from color. It doesn't stem from race. It stems from, motherfucker, you slept with my bitch. That's usually what it stems from, right? Or you owe me some money, right? And money is green. It's not black or brown. And ain't no one afraid of it, or you shouldn't be, right? You should be out there trying to get as much of it as you can. You're going to need it because you're going to need toilet paper and water with all the shit that's going on nowadays. Look, let me give you some game, not give up some game, right? Here's some knowledge you can't get in college. I have never personally seen a black man say, I'm not going to fight you or I'm scared of you because you're Mexican. Both ethnicities have a lot of pride, okay? With pride comes power. Do you understand that Mexicans as a whole, the blood that runs through the veins of a Mexican man is a very powerful blood that comes from a lot of decades and years of toiling in that soil and being warriors and doing what they had to do to hold it down for their tribes, for their indigenous people. We got a lot of indigenous warrior blood that runs through our veins. So do brothers. So do blacks. Okay? So very proud people on both sides. So the last thing one group is ever going to be is scared of a next group. What's the worst that could happen? Get your ass kicked, get smashed on. Happens all the time. It's going to happen whether you're afraid or not. Okay, so for Snoopy Badass to make that bold statement is kind of ridiculous, and I don't agree with it. You know, I agree probably to the point that he had a bad experience, and now he feels, or maybe he's seen something that makes him think that brothers are scared of Mexicans. Now, look, let's keep it real. The Mexicans are the majority in Southern California. I'll say that one more time. You know what I'm saying? Like a Mike Jones song. They are the majority in Southern California. Why? Because they kind of are closer to the border of Mexico. That means there are more immigrants coming from Mexico every day into the city of Los Angeles, into San Diego, into the IE, into Southern California, right? Where you have less paisitas up in Northern California, but you do because of the farming, the agriculture and all that. And there's a lot of work up there. So you do have a lot of Mexicans in Northern California, especially in the Central Valley, right? But as far as Southern California goes, where Snoopy Badass is from, and I'm sure he's had many experiences, he says that the blacks are afraid of Mexicans. And I don't know if he's basing that opinion off of numbers, because numbers do mean something, say like inside of a prison yard and behind the prison walls. Yes, numbers, more soldados, more soldiers you have, the more numbers, man, you kind of got a heavier hand, right? You got more options to send waves. You're going to probably control a yard a little bit more with more manpower. But as far as the streets, even if there's a million Mexicans, I know of several neighborhoods that black and brown share as a community. Places like Watts, Grape Street, Watts Vodka Grape Street, Watts. You know what I'm saying? Places like, you know, right there in South Central LA, you have a big black population, you know, African-American population. You have a big Mexican community. And they have, even though there are some gangs, that's gangs. That's not people. See, when you say blacks are scared of Mexicans, you're not saying black gang members are scared of Mexican gang members. You're not saying Mexican gang members are scared. You're saying black people, a very proud person, are scared of Mexicans. I don't see that. I've never seen that. I know in Southern California, like I said, there has been a lot of situations between black and brown, but that doesn't mean that brother still won't walk that motherfucking street and do his thing, right? I think it's very unfortunate when someone of a certain ethnicity downplays their own people for the attention or the support of another. Okay, I was raised different. I was raised love yours first and foremost. Back your people beyond recognition, no matter what, right? But also show respect for everybody else. So for me to sit here and agree with that and say blacks are afraid of browns would be stupid, because it's not the truth, right? At least not in my experience. Now, everyone has their own different opinions. Some people feel that if you guys are deeper, then we're as scared of you, homie, right? That's not the truth, right? I seen a comment that was made the other day by a brother, right, that said if all blacks came together, man, everybody would be in trouble. Why? The brothers are all going to come together to cause trouble? No, that's a beautiful thing. If all brothers came together, set aside their differences, same thing for Mexicans. If all Mexicans came together and set aside their differences, you know, it'd be a beautiful thing. I don't think everyone's going to come together on some real gangster shit, right? And settle their differences and say, we're cool, just to fucking go out and cause havoc with another ethnicity. That makes zero sense. Black and brown communities have never been known to do that, right? I'm saying people are more focused on division and creating this narrative of black and brown always, who's afraid of who and who's scared of who and who's doing this, when at the end of the day, we actually do need each other, especially right now. You know, when there's a lot of violence going on. And I know, man, I've watched the internet and I've seen with all this whole ICE and immigration thing, man, not a lot, but some brothers saying, you know, hey, that's not our business. That is not our business, man, that we ain't immigrants. But actually, we all are immigrants, man. Unless you got indigenous blood running through you, you know, we are all, if not immigrants, we are descendants of immigrants that were brought legally or illegally to this country, man, and forced into a situation of oppression, right? Especially in the black and brown community. Shut up my woods, man, but you know I got love for you, but you did get a service from Ricky Schroeder, right? I'm just going to say there's a lot of people that rather than focus on what good can come out of situations like this, like coming together and creating an understanding and dialogue between two ethnicities that really haven't seen eye to eye, more people want to take to the internet and say, blacks are afraid of Mexicans, or Mexicans are causing chaos, or blacks are, and that's the problem. That's an issue. So I do not agree with Snoopy Badass whatsoever. I also wanted to bring up another situation on why I didn't understand it, right? During that same interview, Snoopy Badass, and I could have made a whole nother video out of this for 20 minutes, but no, we're going to address it right now since we're on the Snoopy Badass topic. And again, no disrespect towards Snoopy Badass. I don't know him like that. But I just thought some of the comments he made were stupid. They were stupid badass, not Snoopy Badass, right? And so one of the comments that he made was, he ain't never seen no norteños or bulldogs in his life other than prison. Brother, you're from Southern California. Of course not, right? There ain't no norteños or bulldogs officially, no neighborhoods in Southern California. So look, there's a lot of Southsiders, sureños from Southern California that ain't never seen a norteño in real life unless it's on the internet, voila, right? Or behind them walls. That's why it boggles my mind when I see like North and South and I see the get down on the internet and the woofing and shit. I understand about the upstaters. That's a whole different entity. Those are Southsiders that are their flag in Northern California. And yes, the guerra is real. The war, the beef, the kicking over fucking cans, like whatever you guys are doing, they got that going on. It's been going on for a lot of years, right? But as far as Southsiders, and I'm not going to say the real Southside, I'm just saying Southsiders from past Bakersfield, Southern California, right? Man, 99.9% of them that haven't been incarcerated or don't know the get down as far as the internet, they ain't worried about no norteños. They don't see them. They don't even know that they exist, really, right? Other than it's like a unicorn. I remember the first time I got to Fred C. Nellis, man, and why half the Southsiders there wanted to get me. The other half just wanted to look at me and shit to see if I had a tail and horns. Like they were, the propaganda that they were fed or what they believed we were was like totally different. And they were trying, it seemed like, to figure out the differences. All right, they got long hair, right? They were tripping because they had never seen a norteño. But then there were those that were gamed up and kind of seasoned that were like, Vatos look just like us. How the fuck are we going to get off on them? We don't even know who they are, right? That was the situation there. So I've been around a little bit of everything in my life. I've been a little bit around a lot of it, right? And for Snoopy Badass to make that statement, I understand he was speaking his truth again, saying he ain't never seen no norteños. And I might be taking it out of context of the conversation because I only watched the snippet of that, right? And maybe the guy asked him, saying, have you ever seen bulldogs and norteños in Southern California? And he said, no, hell no, only in prison. But the way he said is, I ain't never seen no bulldogs and norteños in Southern California. Well, you ain't never going to probably either. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's Thumper or Go Toes, all right? Because look, there are norteños that wiggle to go visit family. I've been to LA. I've been to the IE. I've been to a lot of places in Southern California. It's beautiful. I love it, right? Been to a lot of places in Southern California a lot of times in my life. But I wasn't down there gangbanging. Even when I was an active gang member, I wasn't down there Mongolian out, wearing a red t-shirt to antagonize and aggravate the situation, man. I was going down there to take care of my business, A to B, and that was it, right? So there are norteños that go to Disneyland. They go to Knott's Berry Farm, Magic Mountain, wherever they go, visit family. But they're not down there gangbanging because that's not their backyard. That's not their neighborhood. Now, is that a cowardice act to be a gang member? No. If you guys watched the little interview with that dude Thumper who just recently went, now, I don't know if he put salsa on the tacos, but the way he spoke on it, I kind of was feeling it. He said that he was playing handball and the 18th Streeter came up to him, man. He identified the dude. He said, dude asked him where he was from. He told him exactly where I'm from. I'm an active norteño. And, I did time in prison. That's it. And dude was like, cool. They played handball together. And that was that. Now, he put a little salsa on the tacos. If dude would have said something out or knocked them out and all that, you don't know what you're going to do. You're going to try to knock them out, but you don't know if that's going to happen or not, right? The fact is, he was in Southern California doing his thing with the dude from Southern California. It was all love, right? Officially. When Snoopy Badass says, I never seen them, it seems like controversy sells, I understand. And as controversial as you can get on an interview is better for you. Now, I just wanted to state, man, of course, bro, you're in Southern California, you ain't going to see no bulldogs and no norteños. Bulldogs always catch strays, huh? They always get involved. The dogs are like, we don't even want to be involved with these guys, right? But they always get brought into the mix because they are brown, man, at the end of the day. Anyways, back to where Snoopy Badass says, man, blacks are afraid of Mexicans. I've never experienced that. I've been on prison yards. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, for reals. And anyone could deny this or make a video and say whatever, right? And twist my words and say I'm racist or whatever, right? But blacks usually are the majority on every yard. They're not all together. So they're not all Crips or all Bloods or all Kumi or all Jama or all whatever, right? But there's a lot of brothers on them yards, right? You know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't sit here and say, man, blacks are oppressed and they're always getting locked up. And you know what I'm saying? They get locked up more than, say, a white dude, which, hey, I'm going to be honest with you, man. 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of truth to that, right? There's a lot of racism and underlying prejudice that goes on. So that's the truth, man. Brothers do get snatched up at an alarming rate, right? So do Mexicans. I'm just going to be real. That means there's a lot of more brothers on that yard compared to like Norteños or Southsiders. It might seem like Norteños and Southsiders are kind of deep, not Northerners. They're less than, right? But Southerners, and I mean that in a respectful way, just meaning their numbers. As Southsiders, there might be 100 of them on the yard, 150 max, right? Brothers be like 400 on the yard, right? So the brothers have no reason to be scared of the Southsiders. Now, during times of guerra, war, which rarely happens between blacks and browns, rarely, right? But when it does happen, you know, it's not that the brothers are afraid of Southsiders or afraid of Northerners or afraid of Mexicans at all. Believe me, ain't no man afraid of no one in prison, man. They gonna get out. Hey, metal hits the same way, right? No matter who's swinging it. But they do know, and the understanding of politics is that them Southsiders, 99.9% of those motherfuckers got a knife on them. Same thing with the Northerners, right? And the brothers, man, it's not that they don't all got knives on them, and not that they won't swing it like Conan themselves, right? Baby boy, Bean Range, right? They're ready to get theirs on, get some butter. Them brothers want to go home, and their politics are different. And according to their politics, they can go home if they want. So a lot of them are going to take that route, whereas the Mexicans, you have no choice, right? So, but it doesn't mean they're afraid or anyone's afraid, man. So Snoopy Badass, I'm going to have to go gong show and disagree with that. I don't know where that was coming from to downplay your own people. I guess that's the new trend nowadays. Talk shit about your own, right? You know, brothers are proud. Every brother I've been around is very proud. You know, people misconstrue pride with hatred. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Mexicans. You know, if a person's talking good about their ethnicity and they're Mexican and they're talking about, it doesn't mean they hate every other race or every other ethnicity. Excuse me, I hate to say other race because there's only one race, human race, right? But if they are pro their people, doesn't mean they got hatred towards other people unless they got that, right? And that goes for everybody. You know, but people misconstrue being proud of your people and standing on what you believe in with your people and then hating on others. And anyways, I just think Snoopy Badass, it was like, what do they call it? Reverse racism? Basically saying, man, let's keep it real. Blacks are afraid of Mexicans. Maybe you are, bro, but not anyone I know. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly and honestly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. This video is sponsored by, of course, you already know, Barrio Liquors, man, out there in Turlock, California. If you ever pull up, man, tell Lale I say what's up at the Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. The award-winning 2025 Liquor Store of the Year goes to the Barrio. Make sure you guys tap in. Bang, bang.